Then he goes and takes with him 7 other spirits more wicked than himself, and they enter and dwell there. And the last of that man is worse than the first. So shall it also be with this wicked generation. Generational. Spanning many generations. Here, Jesus is not speaking of an individual, but of the collective essence of the carnal man. Since it is 7 other spirits, it refers to manifestation and fullness. How did we get here? By means of sowing and reaping and the exponential function, which basically means one to many. Just as one seed of a fruit tree eventually returns much more fruit and seed, so too one idea or concept can expand to include a great number of people. Welcome to a collective. Every collective begins with a seed, an idea, a concept. And here's where free will goes out the window. The collective influence of the many is its most dangerous aspect. Jesus said it like this: "Enter by the narrow gate. For the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction, and those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few." Here, Jesus contrasts destruction with life, and he was quite clear. The many go the way of destruction. This alone should give us pause. Evidence of this way of destruction is all around us, from the highest levels of government to the man on the street. Today, everyone seems angry. Most have issues, and the majority are offended over one reason or another. But the amazing thing about this is that the issue cannot exist unless it first exists in our mind. Though it's usually credited to Albert Einstein, it was civil rights campaigner and feminist writer Rita Mae Brown who stated, "Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Apple seeds can only make apple trees. Destructive collectives can only reproduce destruction, and as we know, pride goes before it." So the problem comes back to the element of pride, the inordinate love of the self. And how is it that pride can be so destructive? I believe the following information helps explain it. It's from Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a German theologian who was imprisoned by Hitler during World War II. It's become known on the internet as the theory of stupidity. Stupidity is a more dangerous enemy of the good than malice. One may protest against evil. It can be exposed and, if need be, prevented by use of force. Evil always carries within itself the germ of its own subversion in that it leaves behind in human beings at least a sense of unease. Against stupidity we are defenseless. Neither protests nor the use of force accomplish anything here. Reasons fall on deaf ears. Facts that contradict one's prejudgment simply need not be believed. In such moments, the stupid person even becomes critical. And when facts are irrefutable, they are just pushed aside as inconsequential, as incidental. In all this, the stupid person, in contrast to the malicious one, is utterly self-satisfied, and being easily irritated becomes dangerous by going on the attack. For that reason, greater caution is called for than with a malicious one. Never again will we try to persuade the stupid person with reasons, for it is senseless and dangerous. If we want to know how to get the better of stupidity, we must seek to understand its nature. This much is certain, that it is in essence not an intellectual defect, but a human one. There are human beings who are of remarkably agile intellect yet stupid, and others who are intellectually quite dull, yet anything but stupid. We discover this to our surprise in particular situations. The impression one gains is not so much that stupidity is a congenital defect, but that, under certain circumstances, people are made stupid, or that they allow this to happen to them. We note further that people who have isolated themselves from others, or who live in solitude, manifest this defect less frequently than individuals or groups of people inclined or condemned to sociability. And so it would seem that stupidity is perhaps less a psychological than a sociological problem. It is a particular form of the impact of historical circumstances on human beings, a psychological concomitant of certain external conditions. Upon closer observation, it becomes apparent that every strong upsurge of power in the public sphere, be it of a political or of a religious nature, infects a large part of humankind with stupidity. It would even seem that this is virtually a sociological, psychological law. The power of the one needs the stupidity of the other. The process at work here is not that particular human capacities, for instance, the intellect, suddenly atrophy or fail. Instead, it seems that under the overwhelming impact of rising power, humans are deprived of their inner independence and, more or less consciously, give up establishing an autonomous position toward the emerging circumstances. The fact that the stupid person is often stubborn must not blind us to the fact that he is not independent. In conversation with him, one virtually feels that one is dealing not at all with a person, but with slogans, catchwords, and the like that have taken possession of him. He's under a spell, blinded, misused, and abused in his very being. Having thus become a mindless tool, the stupid person will also be capable of any evil, and at the same time incapable of seeing that it is evil. This is where the danger of diabolical misuse lurks, for it is this that can once and for all destroy human beings. Pride is the element that makes the mind carnal. And more than once, I have said that pride draws pride. This is what makes for a successful collective. For deep beneath the surface lies the desire to think of ourselves as a little bit better than others for one reason or another, though we would not be quick to admit it. So in Bonhoeffer's theory, I believe the stupidity of which he speaks is due to pride. It truly is a sociological problem based on our need for acceptance. Be it political, religious, or social, the most successful collectives are the most prideful. When we strip all of this down to its most basic structure, we come back to our two choices. In essence, there are two mindsets, two different ways of thinking. The first is the mindset on the flesh, or carnal mind. The second is the mindset on the spirit, or spiritual mind. The first mindset is formed by conditional love. The second need not be formed. It exists in unconditional love, the substance of our Maker. The first requires constant assurance of its identity. The second, wrapped in unconditional love, requires no such thing. It is one with the Father and Son. Based on Romans 6:16, both mindsets lead to slavery. But the difference, the first is involuntary, and the second, voluntary. The first is a lack of free will, but the second is true free will. I will close with the following. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. In the next video, we will sum up our findings and finish this series.